Welcome to a show that's here all about learning. Today we are learning ethical hacking. We are on our part 4. And as I had said last, we'll be focusing more on our methodologies. So please comment, like, share, and subscribe. And I hope you enjoy today's episode. Thank you. As I had mentioned, we are going to enjoy it. Now, here, they initially tell us there are a number of penetration testing methodologies that have been around for a while and continue to be updated as new threats emerge. Now, the following ones we are going to learn is a list of some of the most common penetration testing methodologies and other standards. Okay, so meaning these are some of the things we have to follow if we want to make sure our pen testing is legit and we offer the best service that we can. I am excited because as we move, you are going to find out what I saw also. I find this very much exciting. Now, firstly, we do have our MITRE. I don't know how it's called, MITI ATTCK or yeah. So this framework is an amazing resource for learning about an adversary tactics, techniques, and procedures. So either for both attacking and also defensive or hunting teams, we use MITRE attacks framework today. Okay, so they use this framework today for both red team and the blue team. Now the framework is a collective of different metrics and tactics, techniques, and sub-techniques. These matrices, including the Enterprise ATTCK, Matrix, Network, Cloud, ICS, and Mobile List, the tactics and techniques that adversaries use while preparing for an attack, including gathering of information, technical and people awareness, identification, and more, as well as different exploitation and post-exploitation techniques. We will learn more about the MIT throughout this course. So, this is pretty much covers a lot of things in terms of attack. Okay, it's an MITRE attack, and then this is a framework that covers everything when it comes to attack, including gathering information, either technical or people's weakness, identification, and a lot. So which is why it's saying blue and red team. I am happy about this. Another methodology that we come across is the OWASP. I hope I pronounce it well. If not, please help me in the comments. It's the OWASP WSTG. Okay. Now the OWASP WSTG or Web Security Testing Guide is a comprehensive guide focused on web applications. So meaning this methodology will make sure it helps us when it comes to web application methodologies. And it says you can simply find the guide here. Okay. Now initially it is a compilation of many years of work by OAPS members, okay? And OAPS covers the high-level phases of web application security testing and digs deeper into the testing methods used. Now they say, for instance, it goes as far as providing attack vectors for testing, cross-site scripting, XML external entity attacks, cross-site request forgery, okay, and then SQL injection, as well as how to prevent and mitigate these attacks. You'll learn more about these attacks in Module 6. We'll go there. Exploiting application-based vulnerabilities from a web application security testing perspective. Now, yeah, reading is a lot, but I don't really understand much here as you would understand it. If you do understand it, please explain it to me. However, I have heard of all of these. I might have skipped them in some courses because I was too lazy, but it's fine. But I'm here to learn. We're learning, we continue. Now, another one. We do have the NIST SP. I won't say the 800 115 one because, yeah. So this is a document created by the National Institute Standards of Technology, which is the part of the US Department of Commerce. So this document provides organizations with guidelines on planning, conducting information security testing. Okay. I remember at the start they did mention something about us having to choose which methodology we are going to use, okay? Be it web application, we've already came across that. Be it if ever I want to cover everything up, I would be using this one for attacks and hunting, threat hunting teams, okay? Now with this one, it is more focused on security testing. It says it superseded the previous standard document. Now our SP815, I've said it, yes, is considered an industry standard for penetration testing guidance and is called out in many other industry standard and documentation. Okay, so it means whenever it comes to pen testing guidance, we are still going to use this one also. So I might say now we have three methodologies that we have to at least get and use for our pen testing. I will find out more. We'll find out more. Then we have the OSSTM. This is another methodology. This one is an open source security methodology manual developed by Mr. Pete. Has been around a long time, distributed by Institute of Security and Open Methodologies. This is a document that lays out repeatable and consistent security testing. It is currently in version 3 and 4 in draft status. These are the following key sections. Okay. Operational security matrix, trust analysis, workflow, human security testing, physical security testing, wireless testing, telecommunication testing, data network security testing, compliance regulation, report and security test audits. Woo! Now, this type of information tells me a lot. Now, I have four that I would use. Initially, I would pick the web application one. I would pick this one as it involves a couple of things, and I feel as though, to me, it is straightforward in what they focus on, okay, the key sections of this documentation. And again, yeah, these are the two for now, the web application and this one. Initially, I could select the first one also, as it involves a number of things. We are ethical hackers, so it involves initially us being our threat hunters. Okay. Then we have the PTS. This standard provides information about types of attacks and methods. It provides information on the latest tools available to accomplish the testing methods outlined. PTST involves 7 distinct phases. So now I take this one and put it on the attack side of pen testing. Okay, not necessarily the defense side, but more so the attack side. But pre-engagement interaction, intelligence gathering, threat modeling, vulnerability analysis, exploitation, post-exploitation, reporting. I believe this, yeah, kind of like put them in a section. Put them in like two different distinct areas. I will do that very soon. I will open my Microsoft Word and we'll set them apart and say this is initially for attack and this methodology is initially for our defense. Moving to the next one, we do come across our ISSAF. Okay, now the Information System Security Assessment Framework is another penetration testing methodology similar to the others on this list with some additional phases. This one covers still the same, but we'll find out. Information gathering, network mapping, vulnerability identification, penetration, gain access and privilege escalation, enumerating further, comparison remote users or sites, maintaining access and covering the attacks. Now this one is the in-between one. This one kind of like sits in between these both attack and defense, where I guess it's best for defense in terms of now you understand your network, you understand the information you have in the vulnerability areas, then now you can maintain the access and cover the tracks, okay. So now there are six of these penetration testing methodologies, and this is how I've put them. Okay, uh, in according to what I've read, this is how I would identify these methodologies so that I can remember them. The OWASP, OSSMTM, and the PTES are for the red team, and the MITR, even though I feel like it's for both, this one is initially for our both red and blue team, okay. And then the next SP is for the blue, and then the ESSAF is for the blue team also. Now, please, if ever you feel as though I made a mistake, I should swap them around. And let's make this a fun thing. Tell me in the comments, and then we'll do so. And if you remember, our OWASP deals directly with our web application. Now, first things first, these are the 12 categories of active tests. So now the first one is information gathering, configuration and deployment management testing. Also, authentication testing, authorization testing, session management testing, input validation testing, error handling, cryptography testing, business logic testing, client-side testing, and API. Even though I feel as though I would really want to do more of practicals instead of learning these, but you don't want to be just another hacker who can't really perform proper penetration testing. Now, as much as they've mentioned everything here, I feel as though performing the practical would explain it even much better, more than me just reading the words here. However, these are the 12. I will keep them in mind as I move on. Also found is the what are the three ATT and CK technology domains, or which technology does it focuses on, okay, or domains. It says the enterprise, the mobiles, and the ICS. Now I don't initially know what an ICS is, but as I continue, I'm pretty much sure I will learn everything I need to know. Moving to something else, still part of our methodologies of us testing and finding things, we have initially Alex here. My boy is back. Alex is back again to tell us everything we need to know uh, with our Pixel Paradise and what we need to do. Okay. Now he says here, we are beginning our engagement with our new client, which is Pixel Paradise. I still remember them, or we. So we need to work on the scope and plan of our engagement with them for their approval. Okay, meaning now we need to actually have a way forward for us to perform this pen testing so that they know what we are going to perform, and if ever they agree with it or not, the methodologies that we are going to use, if ever they agree with them or not. Once we have agreement, we can generate our statement of work and start the project. It is important that you understand this part of our business. Many things can go wrong if we do not scope and plan our penetration testing engagement properly. In particular, we need to be aware of local laws and legal concepts related to penetration testing. One of the local laws that we remember is that certain penetration testing tools might be used in certain areas, and in other areas they might not be allowed to be used. Okay, so these are the reasons why we have to be aware of local laws and legal concepts related to penetration testing. Because something you use in France, a tool or maybe a certain methodology on how you pen test, might not be used in another country. Now, Alex continues to say, in this module, we are supposed to learn the importance of good planning and scoping in a penetration testing or ethical hacking engagement. We will learn about several key concepts and the different aspects of compliance-based security assessment. Finally, we'll be able to work to develop the mindset and ethics of a professional ethical hacker with an essential requirement for working at Protego. Now, as fun as this is, on our third video, the third one, Ethical Hacking, Chapter 3, you will see that we have spoke about the different aspects of compliance-based security assessments, okay? Understanding which regulations we need to follow, how these regulations actually help with part of the compliance-based security. So these are the things we've learned on chapter 3. I did mention previously that I've skipped the mythologies. We are here. But yes, we are moving on to now understanding how to develop the mindset and ethics of a professional hacker, okay? Because we need to have a proper mindset before we can even work with networks in certain companies. We need to have a proper mindset and allow ourselves to think in a proper way. So the first thing we learn is that many things can go wrong if you do not scope and plan a penetration testing engagement appropriately. We need to be aware of local laws and regulations and concepts related to penetration testing. This is very vital because, again, what you use in France might not be applicable in what you use in Australia, for say. Now, this module will learn the importance of good planning and scoping in a penetration testing or ethical hacking engagement. Back to refreshing our mind, these are the key elements in the regulations you should consider. Okay. Chapter 3 spoke about these regulations, but initially, you have to understand these local restrictions when a person is hired to perform penetration testing. Okay. Now, here they say, for instance, you may be traveling abroad to a different country where there may be specific country limitations and local laws that may restrict whether you can perform some tasks as a penetration tester. Penetration testing laws vary from country to country. Some penetration testers have been accused and even arrested for allegedly violating the computer fraud abuse of American section what of what. It's written there. Now, one thing that really boggles me is that how can someone be arrested for just penetration testing? I mean, it depends, red team, blue team again, but yeah, let's move. So we must always have clear documentation from our client or the entity that hired us, indicating that we have permission to perform the testing. Clearly, some of these limitations and consideration may have a direct impact to your contract and statement of work. Okay. So sometimes even the documentation that states that you can do this and you can't do this may initially affect how we are able to perform this penetration testing. Now, it further continues to say during our pre-engagement task, we should identify testing constraints, including tool restrictions. Okay, it goes back to the documentation saying we need to understand our documentation and know the limitations and considerations that might impact us performing a certain penetration testing. Often we'll be constrained by certain aspects of the business and technology in the organization that we are hired, even outlining the tools that you can use or are not authorized to use during the penetration testing engagement. There's a lot we have to consider. Now, certain areas, technologies that cannot be tested due to operational limitation, for instance, you might not be able to launch specific SQL injections attacks, as doing so might corrupt a production database. Yes, and we were told that we need to always back up each and every information that we have pertaining a company. Okay. Now we are given a tip, although it might be a bit blurry. Excuse me. It says our customer might have specific corporate policies that need to be taken into consideration when performing a penetration test. In some cases, the customer will initially disclose in its corporate policy any items that might have a direct impact on a penetration testing engagement. But we should always ask and clearly document whether there are any. Some companies might also be under specific regulations that require them to create vulnerability and penetration testing policies. These regulations might specify restricted and non-restricted systems and information on how a penetration test should be conducted according to a regulatory standard. This doesn't seem difficult. Again, of course, there are certain laws, red tape that you have to come across, but penetration testing really doesn't seem that difficult. You might initially have to start from your small SMEs, small micro enterprises, before you move to a larger enterprises, okay? But it doesn't seem like it's going to be a tough thing. Initially, you need to understand the documentation, but no man is an island, or female. No one is an island. So you can't do it alone. Understand the documentation, understand what you can and you can't perform, and not everything will go well, but you will be able to do the job you like or perform penetration testing and be the hacker you prefer yourself to be. Now, I don't see this as difficult. Now we can still do this. We come to several important legal concepts that we must know when performing a pen testing. Okay. Now, initially, yeah, they're going to tell us about the statement of work, the master service agreement, the non-disclosure agreement, confidentiality, and an SLA. Now, if you don't know what is a SLA, well documented expectation or constraint related to one or more of the minimum or maximum performance measures, such as quality, timeline, timeframes, and cost of the penetration testing service. Now, it's more like a documentation that will tell you to say, during this time, expect this many, will say this many people or this much to be done with this amount that we want you to do it with. Okay, that's mostly your SLA. Now, you should be familiar with any SLAs that the organizations that hire you has provided to its customers. If ever you have not been part of a company that deals with SLAs, it's initially something where it's almost like a contract. But on this contract, you are given a budget also to say, hey, this is what you do in this given time frame, and this is how much you are working with. And these are the people you are going to be working with if ever there are people, okay. But that's it. Now, another part we need to understand is the confidentiality. Confidentiality, we must discuss and agree on the handling of confidential data. I pretty much think this is straightforward. We need to understand what type of data we are dealing with and how are we going to handle it, especially when it comes to certain passwords, customer information, or login details, be it from an end user or server, or Active Directory domains, and so forth. We need to understand how we handle this information and also be specific, not just go through each and every information they have in the company, but be specific to what you are supposed to be only looking at. Now, what will be the proper way to communicate and handle such data is very important. Similarly, we must protect sensitive data and delete all records per your agreement with your client. Your customer could have specific data retention policies that you might also have to be aware of. A statement of work is a documentation that specifies the activities to be performed during a penetration testing engagement. It can be used to define some of the following elements. The project, maybe is still part of the SLA, the scope of the work to be performed, the location of the work, the special technical and non-technical requirements, payment schedule, and miscellaneous English miscellaneous items that may be part of the main negotiation but that need to be listed and tracked because they could pose problems during the overall engagement. The SO statement of work can be a standalone document or can be part of the master service agreement. Okay, or something else. Now, the master service agreement, which is a very popular today, these are the contracts that can be used to quickly negotiate the work to be performed. When a master service agreement is in place, the same terms do not have to be renegotiated every time you perform work for a customer. Master service agreement are especially beneficial when you perform a pen test and you know that you'll be rehired or recurring basis to perform additional tests in other areas of the company or to verify that the security posture of the organization has been improved as a result of prior testing and remediation. Straightforward contract between me and the client, and the level of work I'll be doing, as they say, is similar to a statement of work. The project, the scope of the work, the location, the payment, the miscellaneous items, special technical and non-technical requirements, and a lot of things, I guess, also include confidentiality. I want to say the SLA also be included here, but it's fine. Then the NDA, still part of confidentiality, non-disclosure agreement. It might happen that a legal document, a contract between you and organization has been filed or has been given to you as you're hired as a pen tester, so that it defines confidential material, knowledge, and information that should not be disclosed and that should be kept confidential by both parties. Okay, meaning we can't just disclose anything. I'm sure we've came across SLEs. Now, NDNAs can be classified as any of the following. Now, this one I do not know. We need to know. Unilateral NDAs. So this means only one part discloses certain information to the other party, and the information must be kept protected and not disclosed. For example, an organization that hires you should include an NDA certain information that you should not disclose. Of course, all the findings must be kept secret and should not be disclosed to any other organization or individual. So the party can provide me information and I cannot disclose this information that I've gotten. That's unilateral. Or is it part of me finding information, disclosing it to the party, but I can't disclose it to other parties? Lawyers, please help us in the comment section. Bilateral. A bilateral NDA is also referred to as a mutual or two-way NDA. In a bilateral NDA, both parties share sensitive information with each other, and this information should not be disclosed to any other entity. Multilateral, this type of NDA involves three or more parties, or with at least one of the parties disclosing sensitive information that should not be disclosed to any entity outside the agreement. If I'm not mistaken, this is now adding on to other people to say, since there are more parties, then we can be able to disclose this information to these other entities that have now joined. Okay, I get it. If not, please help us in the comment. This was fun to learn. Now, this is where we are ending it for today. We've understand some of these agreements that are supposed to be between the party and the pen tester, or the entity and the pen tester, so that they understand each other and they make sure that any information that they're working with, any work that they're doing, is part of a certain agreement. Well, thank you for watching Methologies today. I really hope you enjoyed this episode and it was informational to you too. Now, if you could press that subscribe button, share, comment. Comments are really helpful. And please like, it will really help us continue this journey with you. Now, thank you for joining us. I will see you next time.